Just a few years ago, I had a shopping addiction. I had a house jam-packed full of so much stuff I couldn't move. We had sky-high expenses, massive mortgage, massive car payment. And despite having over 6 figures of income coming into the household every single month, I was constantly worrying about money and feeling completely overwhelmed by our lifestyle. What I really wanted was freedom, but I had no idea how to get it. Today, I'm sharing how living frugally has not only completely changed my financial life, but has also completely increased my peace of mind, despite having an income that is about 1/10, a fraction of what was coming into the household previously. Now, I grew up in a very frugal household. My parents were extremely frugal. My dad worked, my mum didn't work. Most of the money went to pay off the mortgage. We never had foreign holidays. We didn't have branded clothing. We didn't have any luxuries. The standard response was, we can't afford it. So that was the kind of household that I grew up in. So I was used to being very, very frugal or having that very frugal mindset. And even when I met my ex-husband about 20 years ago, we were both pretty much on minimum wages when we met. But after a few years, our household income grew massively. My ex-husband got promotion after promotion, and my business started to absolutely take off. My business alone was earning over 6 figures a year. And granted, I didn't get to keep all of this because I had very high business expenses, but I did get to keep a lot of it. But I didn't realize at the time that we fell into the standard trap that most people do with lifestyle creep, lifestyle inflation. We thought because we're earning more money, we deserve to upgrade our lifestyle. We should have a bigger house. So we doubled the size of our house. We more than doubled the size of our mortgage. We got a car payment on a nearly new car, increasing the type of car that we had. Every service that we could pay, we paid for. We had cleaners, gardeners, everybody under the sun who was doing stuff for us around the house. The kids went to a private nursery, and part of this was because we moved to a new area midway through the term. We were supposed to get free nursery placement and we didn't get offered it. So we couldn't have that free nursery placement that most people in the UK get, and we ended up paying for it, but we found this lovely outdoor forest nursery. The kids fell in love with it, and my business was booming. So we thought, why not give the kids that experience? And they still remember it. So I do not regret it for 1 second. But unfortunately, during this time, my health was on its knees a lot of the time. I didn't realize that I had undiagnosed celiac disease, which is like a very extreme reaction to gluten. It's an autoimmune disease and it can cause debilitating health problems. So I was eating gluten and I would have very long periods of time of chronic fatigue syndrome so bad that I could barely get up from a lying down position. I was debilitated, and thankfully my business kept going during these times, so I'm so grateful for this. But having these health problems filled me with so much fear about my health because I didn't know what was wrong with me. The doctors hadn't diagnosed me, they couldn't find anything wrong with me, so I thought I was cracking up. So I thought the only way out of this is to be extremely healthy and to try and get out of it myself. So I invested so much money into my health. I bought expensive organic foods. I went to see health practitioners, anybody that could try and shed some light on why I was ill all the time. I made sure I had 0 chemicals in my house. Everything that I could have done to be healthy, I spent the money on. I was obsessed with spending money on health. I've never been one for designer products or living beyond my means in a massive way. But when I had these health problems, I had the income and I really wanted to fix my health. So I put all of my excess money into buying health products. So I got used to spending a lot of money on trying to improve my health. And some of these products would work and some wouldn't work. My weight was also fluctuating massively, 5 stone up, 5 stone down, like 50 pounds up, 50 pounds down. I had all these different clothes, all these different wardrobes because my weight was constantly up and down like a yo-yo. So we were spending an absolute fortune. We had very, very high expenses. And I was spending a lot of money on health-related products. And despite our high income, I was constantly worrying about money every single month. Whenever I would do my monthly business finances, I would feel sick with worry in case I didn't have enough to pay the kids' nursery, in case I had to pull them out of nursery, we couldn't afford our mortgage, our car payments, all of the people that we'd hired, all of my business expenses, which were through the roof. I'd forgotten about being frugal and I was living life to the max, trying to fix my health problems stay afloat and earn more money. I was on a constant hamster wheel of working more, trying to earn more, trying to fix my business, trying to increase things so that I could get rid of this constant worry all the time. I thought, if I can just get my business stable, I won't feel sick with worry. And I didn't realize at the time that I was feeling worried because I didn't feel like we were in control of our finances. I felt like our expenses were way too high. There was too much resting on my business. There was too much resting on my ex-husband's salary. And he also had health problems, which were making his job look very unstable at the time. So I was constantly feeling worried. All of this took its toll on our marriage. And a few years later, we moved down south. We moved from Scotland down to Wales. Thankfully, by this time, my health had totally recovered because I'd been diagnosed as having celiac disease. I was on a completely 100% gluten-free diet, and I'd made massive improvements to my health, and I'd made a full recovery, and I've been well now for about 5 years, and I don't have this fear around health anymore. So I don't feel the need to be constantly buying stuff for my health all the time because my health is really good. So I'm really thankful for that. But a few years after moving down to Wales, my ex-husband told me that he wanted a divorce. I was devastated at the time, mainly for the kids and the breaking up of the family unit. And once I got over that shock, what I felt instead was a bit of relief and a bit of peace, because now I could finally be in control of my own life, my own finances, and I could go back to my roots. I could go back to being frugal again. When we both came into the marriage, we both brought so much stuff with us, and we already had a load of stuff in our loft. But due to all the stuff that we had bought over the years, and also my ex's hoarder mentality, he couldn't let anything go. He kept everything sentimental, all of the kids' drawings, baby clothes, everything. He wanted to keep all of it. So we floored the entire loft of our house, completely boarded the whole thing up, and we stacked the entire loft, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. It was just one massive wall of stuff, and I found this amount of stuff overwhelming. We moved house a lot, and this stuff just kept on moving from house to house to house, having the most humongous removal vans I have ever seen, and most of it was loft stuff that we weren't even using, we didn't need. So when my ex-husband left the house, I thought, well, it's now my job to have this colossal job of decluttering the loft. And yes, half of it was his, but I had to organize it. So I spent an entire year organizing and decluttering that loft. I put his half of the stuff in half the loft, and the other half I organized into different piles, into piles of going to the tip, into piles of camping gear, Christmas gear, stuff to declutter. And I would get about 5 to 10 boxes down every single week, and I would declutter those, get rid of them, give stuff away, take stuff to the tip, whatever I didn't need, I would take it away. And finally, about a year later, I was finally free of all that clutter in the loft. And not only that, but I did the whole house as well. And when that whole job was finished, I can't tell you the feeling of peace and freedom that washed over me. I didn't realize that a lot of the feeling of overwhelm wasn't just to do with money and our debts and our bills that had to be paid. It was also the sheer amount of stuff that I had in the house. And when I got rid of that stuff, I finally felt free. I felt in control of my life for the first time. And then I was managing my finances on my own. But the best thing about that process is I spent so long doing that task that I never ever want to get in that position ever again. It made such a big impact on me that I never want to overspend and have clutter in my life that I don't need. So if I don't want something in my life, I'm going to immediately get rid of it. And that physical declutter was such a turning point for me. Then I turned my attention to the finances, and I had a digital declutter of the finances. For the first time, I was in control of my own finances, and it was so liberating. And the thing is about my finances, at the time when I used to earn over 6 figures a year with my business, and I was constantly worrying about money, I was worrying that my business would decline. And the thing that I was worrying about the most actually happened. A few years later, my business did decline. Something major, a major way that I would get traffic to my website suddenly was cut away from me, and I couldn't get it back again. I tried for years to get my business back to the state it was, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And my business just declined and declined, and it got to the stage where my business was pretty much just breaking even and I was working just to earn no money for myself. My expenses were still quite high and I wasn't making enough to earn a profit. So I was making nothing from my business. And this was a real shock. When my husband decided to tell me to get divorced, suddenly I thought, oh my goodness, I've got no income stream here. His income has climbed up here because we moved house so many times. He was jumping up the ladder, moving and jumping, whereas my business was doing really well. And all of a sudden it went downhill. And all of a sudden I had nothing. I thought I'm going to have to go and get a job. But I haven't had a job for 15 years. I've got no job experience. I've got no pension. I've got no savings. Yes, we had equity in the house and we had a little bit of investments, but that's it. I had no income coming in. So I had to have a massive financial reset. I had always been logging my finances. I have done this for years. So this was a habit that I already had. So I knew exactly where I was up to with my finances. I knew where I spent the money. I had a big job. I had to cut out expenses from my personal life and also wanted to try and claw a bit of money back from my business again. So I had a massive job, an even bigger job of reducing my business expenses because any low-hanging fruit, any easy business expenses I had cut, I'd already done that years ago. And the things that were left were really time-consuming. Moving from one system to another, moving all of my products over was very, very time-consuming. Moving an email list from a very expensive service to a less expensive service. All of this was so time-consuming and I chipped away just like I did at the decluttering. And finally, I shaved off about £600 a month off my business expenses, which might not sound like a lot, but when you're just breaking even and you have been for years and you haven't made any money, this was life-changing for me, who didn't have any income coming in. And it also made me feel more secure about my business and less burdened by my business expenses because they weren't really that high. And now they're much easier to manage. I had to do really hard things like letting go of contractors, staff members that I had worked with. My virtual assistant that I'd worked with for 9 years. She did an amazing job. I loved everything about her. She never caused me any stress. It's the first person in my life I've ever found who did a great job for me without causing me any stress. And I had to let her go. One of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was necessary. So the biggest mindset shifts I have had during this journey back to frugality again is that despite my income dropping dramatically to pretty much zero, I actually feel way more peaceful. I feel much more freedom. I'm looking for a job right now, and I know that I only have to get a job which is minimum wage, and this will cover all of my expenses because my expenses are so low. And this is such a freeing thought because I was so worried that I was going to have a high-paying job. After having no experience for 15 years, I thought, well, who is going to hire me and pay me a lot of money with no experience? It's probably not going to happen. And I had loads of interviews, loads and loads of job applications. I wasn't getting anywhere. People would tell me, because you're a business owner, we think that you're not going to want to take orders from other people. So you should just go back to being a business owner again. So I just felt like I was stuck in a catch-22. So now I'm looking at more like minimum wage jobs. And there's so many more out there, and I can probably get one that's more local to me as well. So I feel so much better about this. Finally, for the first time in my adult life, I actually feel free. And I'm not free from a job because I know I'm going to have to get a full-time job to pay the bills and to also start to build up some kind of retirement pot. But I do feel so much better. I sleep so much better at night, knowing that I don't have such a massive burden hanging over me every single month. Talking of retiring early, go and check out my last video because I explained how despite having no savings, no job, no pension, I still want to retire early. I'm 46 years old now. I want to retire in about 10 or so years. So go and check out my previous video where I explain all of that and my plan for doing that. And to me, living frugally isn't about deprivation. It's about freedom. You don't have to earn more to feel richer. Sometimes you just have to need less. And if you're starting over in midlife, I just want to encourage you today that just take things one step at a time. All of these things can feel so overwhelming. It has taken me such a long time to get to the point of freedom. It's taken me a year of constant work and struggle. And I know I've still got a big path ahead of me, but I feel so much better having chipped away at this every single week. Let me know in the comments what has helped you feel more free. And if you're new here, please subscribe. This is a brand new channel and I would love to build a community of people so you can follow my journey as I build financial freedom from rock bottom. Subscribe now to Freedom Kitty and I will share more of these frugal living videos, plus my journey to financial freedom, my finances, my investments, side hustles, tools that I use, how I have cheap adventures, my plans for the future. This is Catherine, over and out.